so what's happening, everybody? It is another Thursday, and we are here with the Elite Communication Mastermind. I am so grateful to be here, so grateful to be learning all these incredible communication techniques, and I know that you guys are. I've been hearing incredible feedback, and I'm excited to hear how you've implemented everything that you've been learning. And Robbie, I know, is going to walk you through that here in a minute. But before we do that, I want to just begin to really ground out some of the principles that we've been talking about in real action items. And this is not like a hypothetical, this is really real value. This is insider strategy. And how much of an insider strategy is it? I am going to, this is Ahmed. Ahmed is True Living's copywriter. And I am going to be walking him through the same thing that I recommend that you do in real time. So I'm going to be talking to him. We're going to use True Living as an example, and I'm going to share with you how you can take these incredible communication skills and start utilizing and how we translate them over to the marketing funnel building process in real time. Sound good? Is everybody excited about that? Yes? Jamar, can I hear you? Can I get a hell yeah? It seems like, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So, one of the things, oftentimes when we're communicating, some of the stuff that we're helping people do through that gradient process in helping them take the next step up is removing some of the obstacles that they might, that they might find. Robbie's going to share with you a storytelling formula that keeps people engaged and keeps people excited and has them have that aha. And in that story, hopefully what you're doing is you are helping them recognize that there is no problem with them taking action towards your product, right? So you've got to be able to know what are some of the pain points or what are some of the struggles that people are going to experience that might prevent them from success, and then you're going to address them as you build that gradient, as you're communicating with them and helping them take the next step, right? So ultimately, that translates when you're on stage, but it also translates into your marketplace. So every one of you has a website, and we're going to be talking about True Living's website right now. So when you are creating, one of the strategies that you want to look at with your digital assets is that you want to be building authority. And Robbie shared the two numbers and a result as an authority builder, right? 2 numbers and a result, because they understand that. Well, in that same way that you want to share those 2 numbers and a result, you want to share 2 numbers and a result and push them towards an action. So today we're going to be talking about how we're going to be modifying True Living's program, utilizing our public speaking skills, how we're going to be modifying our business, utilizing our public speaking skills so that we can create more engagement and more enrollment in real time. So check it out. So we're over here on our, can everybody see our page here? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So first, if you don't have a Facebook page for your business, you need to create one. Creating a Facebook page for your business is really important. You want to create a LinkedIn page. You want to create a Facebook group. If one of the things that you're going to be doing is answering questions to people, Vaseem, as to whether or not you create a Facebook group, that's up to you when it comes to the marketing component of things. But Jamar and Torian, you definitely want to have a Facebook group because you want to be able to support people, right? So that Facebook group lives on a Facebook page. So here is True Living's Facebook page. And the Facebook group, you can see under here more, you'll see groups, and we've got multiple groups for multiple different audiences. But when you're creating your group, you want your group to appeal to your target persona. Like Robbie was saying, is that person going to find value in the Facebook group? And how do you name your Facebook group something that is going to help them have value? So one of our Facebook groups that we just recently started working with is Starting Up Your Business. All right. So you'll see this is Starting Up Your Business. We've got 22.5 thousand members in here. And you'll see that this says, when we click on this image, starting up your business prevents a virtualized summit, launching a legendary digital business, right? Speaking to our ideal client. And then you have me, I'm one of the guest speakers. This was the host. Him and I recently, kind of united to be able to bring more value to his audience. And this union is what I'm speaking about, because we talk about, your target persona being the consumer, but we also talk about your target persona being the person that you're JVing with. Well, he's somebody who's got a Facebook group. He creates graphics. And so he's a perfect JV partner, right? So what we're going to be doing here, and what I'm going to ask Ahmed to do, is he's going to go through and write copy that pushes people towards this little section over here. So you see where there's a description over here in the right-hand side. So this copy is what we're going to do is we're going to say, Tips Tuesday, or learn, launching a legendary digital business, discover more with our free Facebook Live on Tuesday. And then it's going to have a little arrow over here where it says click to register. And when they click on the button, when they click on this, it'll show up just the same way that it does in this screen. And in the description section, there'll be a link for them to register. So this banner in our Facebook group is spotlighting our once a week live, where you're going to present your signature presentation. That's where you're going to deliver those incredible communication skills. And people are going to register for that because you've given them an offer, launching inside secrets to launching a legendary digital business. And then you're going to push them towards the clicking of the registration that happens over here. And you're going to do that with a little graphic that says, click the link to register. Let me show you what that looks like over here on True Living's site. Let's look here. So you see, free online networking event with this, only I'm going to have the arrow coming over here. Click here. So I'd take this little arrow, put it over here, have this come here. When they click on this, see how it says, click the link for online events. You'd be amazed at how many people come to this link. So your business, your brand is channeling people through your online presence. And what you're channeling them towards is your webinar, your speaking engagement, your signature message. So now anybody that likes this True Living page, when we do a post here and they click on it, they can come up here, they could see what we're all about, your business and quality of life, 4X in record time, and they can learn more. So that is just a really, and it's the same thing with your Google My Business, right? We go to Google, we go to Joinosity, or we go to True Living. You see Joinosity shows up here. What do we have right there? We just cut right through it. Click for a business strategy session. And so what we're doing is we've got our messaging, increase your productivity, voicemail drops. We're answering a lot of some of those common questions. And what we're doing is we're channeling them through a particular process. So, so this is all authority building, but ultimately what I wanted to share here is that your Facebook page, your Instagram page, your LinkedIn pages, you don't always want to have a hard call to action, which I'm sure Robbie will cover later on, but you want to make sure that you have some sort of channel for somebody to take the next step. Otherwise they'll be like, oh, that was really valuable, but I don't know what to do now. So make sure that you're thinking about that, like, how are people going to listen to the signature presentation that we're creating? And where are you going to practice your skills? I'm going to challenge you that if you don't have a Facebook group already, create a Facebook group. If you don't have a Facebook page already, create a Facebook page, put a banner up there that announces that you're going to be talking about your project and when you're going to be talking about your project. And then you can utilize a software like this one. This is called StreamYard. And what this software does, what it does is it allows you to go live. So you can enter the studio. I'm gonna re-up. So here, It's basically, it allows us to go live to all those platforms all at once. It lets me go live into Facebook, live into my Facebook page, and live into my Facebook group. Now, guys, check this out. This is the gold of this, right? Now, hear me out. When you're live, what you do is you make a nice little entry video. Hey, you know, welcome to True Living. I'll show you ours. Let me jump under here, under Google Chrome. We're going to go to StreamYard. Right. So here's where you're going to create it, right? You literally hook up your account. Actually, I'm going to go back. You create a broadcast. You select which channel. I'm going to go Michael's, my YouTube channel. I'm going to go onto my Facebook page, maybe my LinkedIn, that Facebook group, maybe our other Facebook page. I'm going to call it whatever my hook is, my little description with a question, a couple of points, you know, point, you know. I create my broadcast. By the way, this software is $49 a month. Well, it's not letting me do it because I'm not hooked into my LinkedIn right now. And then you're going to see, enter studio, you add your name, you create some sort of banner that's there, you add yourself. There's Mike, I could be going live right now. And then look over here on the right-hand side, we've got our brand. Then we created a nice little 60-second video clip. Then we have a nice little introduction at the end of this video clip. And this gives everybody the opportunity to get excited about what you're doing. All right, you're going live, people are going through. When you're done, you literally download this, edit it, cut it up, use it for social media, transcribe it, turn it into a blog, and now you've got everything all in 1 week. So I'm going to kind of kill this. I don't know how to kill the sound on this one yet. Hold on. I'll show you what we did here. It'll take you 11 more seconds. Just something like this, right? Hey everybody, it's Michael Peluso, and believe it or not, you are on a show, and we're talking about being on a show. So here we are, we're gonna have a ton of fun. I'm gonna deliver a metric ton of value to you right now, same time, every Thursday, 11 a.m. And I'll tell you what, when we're done with this show, what we're gonna do is we're gonna download it. I'm gonna send it over to be edited. I'm gonna make sure that I'm clean and crisp in this show, and then I'm gonna turn it into some blogs, get it out there so that I can resell it at that point. I can do whatever it is that I want with it. But I know that I have an entire week, every week, to make sure that I can show up professional. I can deliver a metric ton of value. And I have somebody like Ahmed who can take this, transcribe it, and turn it into gold. Now, how valuable is that to you guys? All right, I want you to comment in the sections there, and I'm blah, 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 right? You guys see what we're doing? So we're not actually live or anything. I'm going to leave the studio. But for $50 a month, right? You have this incredible platform to go live, and look at all the channels that we're going live into. Facebook. These are 4 different Facebook locations and YouTube with the click of a button. Guys, your ability to take what you're learning here and translate it into something that's immediately valuable that you can resell through this process is incredible. And all you need to do is create that Facebook post, create that Facebook banner. Pick a time when you're going to go live on a regular basis and start practicing. And people are going to check it out, and you'd be amazed. And as long as you have that next step, you'd be amazed at how often they're going to come up to you and say, man, I got so much value out of that. I've gotten clients, I've gotten retreat people from it just from going live. And it's a great place for you to go. And if you're uncomfortable going live, that's okay. We've got our Facebook group, the True Living Facebook group that you can go in there. People that have been through this kind of a process before, go live, share with them what it is that you're doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this. I'm going to exit the studio. I'm going to stop my share, and I'm going to pass it over to my partner here, Robbie. What's happening, man?
And that was really, really good.
Thank you.
Tip on making sure they know where the link is. Fantastic, really good stuff. So, are you guys okay?
Hey, Robbie, you're cutting in and out. I couldn't actually hear what you said there.
Okay. Move into my van, and I'm going to drive away to a section where I have better service. So it's going to take me more. I already checked that and it worked.
Oh, no worries. All right. So in the meantime, while Robbie's out there doing that, does anybody have any questions? What Robbie's going to be moving his van. What I can make out is Robbie's going to be moving his van and getting into a better place. And that's okay, because it gives me a little bit more time with you guys, which I'm happy about. So let me ask you, does anybody have any questions about that? Does that make sense? So you have your banners, you're pushing towards an event. On the event, you deliver your signature presentation, right? At the end, that last little bit is your call to action, but then you take that signature presentation, you cut it up, you transcribe it, then you have an editor go through and take the gold out of it, and then they post it up as content. You could reutilize it inside of the software as a lead magnet. But the goal there is to make sure that you're constantly driving, that you have that consistency, that you're constantly driving people towards that action. Sound good? Let me answer any questions that you might have in the meantime.
Okay, Michael, this is Torian speaking.
Hey.
The question that I have, hey, good morning, you guys. The question that I have, excuse the rasp in my voice.
It's all good.
The question that I have concerning the Facebook is, do you have to create, because I don't have a Facebook page at all. So do you have to create a personal account just to create a business page? Because I remember when I was on it, you had, in order to have a business page, you had to have a personal account.
I don't know. I don't know. Do you have a LinkedIn profile?
We actually did create one, yes.
Okay. I know with that software that you don't need to actually be streaming it anywhere. Okay. Also, you could use Zoom. Right now we're recording, and actually Zoom is recording in a little bit of a higher def. I personally like the recording of a Zoom better. However, compounding it and going live all at once, I think the Zoom feature is significantly more expensive to be able to do that. I think it's like $300 a month to be able to do that in Zoom, where it's only $50 a month to be able to do it in StreamYard. So I would recommend doing the StreamYard, getting a Facebook account, and starting that. Yes. Now okay. The other thing is this, like, this is another next level strategy. And Ahmed, this is going to be valuable for you as well, because this kind of explains things. So when we come under here under Facebook, and I come underneath my Facebook account, so, people that, if you see starting up your business, we know that there's two kinds of people that are coming into starting up your business. There's people that want to sell to people that are starting up their business, and there's people that are starting up their business, right? So you'll see here that we've got 36 member requests. And what we did was we came underneath each one, and I've got a list of questions. I've got a list of questions that you can't actually see here. Here they are. They're right here. What kind of business do you want to start? Yes. That's not really an answer, is it? What would you like to send? Would you like us to send you free trainings? If so, enter your email below. Yes, but they didn't enter their email. Will you contribute positively to the growth of the group and follow the group rules? Yes or no? Yes. Do you agree to the group rules from the admin? I agree. All right, so we look at her. What's going on here? She's got, this doesn't really look like a real profile, does it, guys? She's got, it's the same picture over and over again. There's one picture of a person. So I'm going to say that she's probably not a real person. And so is this not a real person going to add value? I'm going to decline. She's joined Facebook 8 weeks ago, decline, right? Where you could see this under Amber, joined Facebook 14 years ago, one group in common. What kind of business do you want to start? A restaurant? She doesn't want the emails. That's okay. Do you agree to the group rules? She might've just checked out of it or whatever. But Amber in the United States, married to Robert. So she may be a possible candidate to find out more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to approve. And I'm going to go there and search by Amber. And normally I won't approve it until after I start the conversation. So let me find a different one. But like, here's one. This is a great. So we've got their email address. Joined Facebook 12 years ago. This is obviously a real person. Isn't speaking English, so I'm not going to really engage with them right now anyway. Here's one. Senior care. Here we go. Nico Rio. Tyler, Texas. So real location. Seems to have real friends, joined it, right? So this person, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to message her. I'm going to say, hey, Nikki. So what would your Facebook group be? Hey, Nikki, welcome to starting up your business Facebook group. What kind of business are you starting? Right? Now she'll maybe respond, oh, I'm starting a restaurant business or whatever. And I'll say, oh, that's cool. Like, where are you in that phase? Where's your gradient? Where are you in that phase? And she'll be like, oh, I'm just starting out, or I'm a little bit further along. And it's like, oh, cool. Well, here's some resources that I can give you that'll help you along. And if you want more resources, let me know. Well, hey, by the way, I'm going to be going live next Tuesday. Make sure you show up because I'm going to speak into, I'll be able to answer some of your questions or speak into that problem. Now, she might also be like, oh, I'm struggling. Oh, I happen to own a software company with the software. Let me know if you want to learn more. And now you've touched base with her. She's going to be more engaged in the group. You've created a relationship, and people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So this is a great way for you to stay in touch with the people that are in your organization and be able to create relationships to give value. And sometimes I'll go through here and you'll see in our personal ones, we have all kinds of different relationships that are going on, and we're following this formula. Sound good, guys? So does that make sense? You're there. You're driving them, you have your weekly whatever where you're gonna deliver a metric ton of value. Maybe you interview some people, right? You go live, you invite them to your Facebook page. You drop your value on your Facebook page. Hey guys, I just delivered a free training. It's on the Facebook page. You share it into the group, not the other way around. In other words, you have a Facebook page, and when you have a training, you share that Facebook page into the group. You can't take something that's in a group and share it out. But what you can do is you can take something that's on a page and share it into the group, right? So you post it on the page first, then you share it with your page into the group, and then people can see it. And you make sure that you don't have any bullshit in the group. Just to be totally honest, people don't want to be there if they're spamming or getting harassed or anything like that. So you have really strict group rules. Absolutely no spamming. This is your audience. And then what you do is you include that Facebook group as like added value in the programs that you're offering. For example, you guys know that we have this Facebook group over here, which is that I've included with everything. This one, coaches, entrepreneurs, executives, and authors. There's 874 people. These are people that have been in our programs. For the most part, they're amazing human beings. They're all amazing human beings, but for the most part, they've all been in our programs. Or attended a workshop or something that we used to host weekly meetings, which we just took the banner down, right?
Michael.
Yes.
this is Torian again. I have one quick question I want to ask you when you were talking about sharing the information on Facebook. You saying no spamming. How do we protect our work from being shared? So like people screenshotting or even just sharing, taking our information off the screen and sharing it, or even using it as their own. What are some of the, I guess, guidelines or things we can put in place to protect our work from being stolen?
Okay, so that great question. First, everything should have your brand on it somewhere, right? For us, it's this logo. You know, you'll see this little circular logo everywhere. So if they screenshot it, that's fine. The second thing is I love people stealing my content because they can't, one, there's no way for them to teach. They don't have the resources to ground that out in the rest of the way. In other words, I could say, hey, just don't have a limiting belief. But unless I got a formula to produce that, then it doesn't matter what you're doing, you know, it's not there. But another thing is this, think of it this way. You know, like for me, I have compassion where I'm like, you know, hey, Robbie, welcome back, man. So I was sharing, you know, the question was posed, how do you prevent people from taking your content? And the answer to that is this, you know, like one, you know, you can always send somebody a cease and desist, and that's an easy email. Two, make sure your logo's on things. Or your partner's logos on things, somebody that's got some, you know, when people come in, they sign a contract, you know, to be part of the group. But when it comes to the Facebook group, when it comes to the Facebook group, look, man, if somebody's out there and if somebody's desperate enough to take $1 out of my wallet, that they can have it, you know? But make sure that you have a barrier of like, hey man, this, like the content that we're sharing right now with you is not always something that we're gonna, you know, I've given bits and pieces of this in lives, but I didn't string it together like this into a training. And Robbie hasn't, you know, Robbie wouldn't just go live with this information, you know, so there's that barrier of entry. Now, here's another way to think about it too, that's really important. The way I look at it is like information is the free part. You know, there's not a shortage of information. People can Google things. And a professional that knows how to implement it, and an implementation strategy and the accountability and the ability to execute on it, that's what people are really paying for. And so I think that as long as you are that person in their mind, like you're like, hey, I'm giving the information for free, but I'm going to help you get it done. Then you're going to be their go-to, and they will always come back. You know.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. All right, Robbie, we covered everything that we need to.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry about the internet. It worked previously, and now I drove to another area, and here I am.
Coming in sharp, man. I'm
glad. Okay, good. So I'd love to just start by going through a couple of housekeeping items. Thank you guys that sent me your Excel spreadsheets. I'm going to go through that really fast so that everybody knows how to do it. As I was going through, it's such a complex test. I built one that was online, and then the company that I used to build it went out of business. And so I lost all the data for it. So I only have this spreadsheet right now, and it is kind of confusing. So I'm going to share my screen because when I got the tests back, there was a couple of areas where it was just done differently. So let me just show you how it works really fast. So this is just a fun learning process more than anything. It's more or less a way to begin with a measurement stick and then, you know, be able to measure ourselves as we go. But there's two sections. The first section, you're going to answer 4 questions all at one time. Okay, so when creating a strategy for school or work, I would like the person I'm dealing with to 1, 2, 3, and 4. And of those 4 questions, you're either going to give it a 0, 2, 4, or 6, but every one of those needs to be used. So one of them should be a 0, like my least likely. 2 is my, my second least likely. 4 would be my third most likely to be used, and then 6 would be this is most like me. So when we went through and did it before, it was like, yes, that's like me, that's like me, that's not, or I'm sorry, that's not like me. So when we come over to the tally sheet, it's going to start adding those up a lot differently. So for those of you that have taken it, go back through on this one and say which one is most like me and give it a 6. which one is least like me, give it a 0. And then the other two, just rank them based in the same way so that it should look like that 6, 0, 2, 4. That's how it should be done. Okay. That way, when it's weighted over here, it's weighing it specifically. Each one of these questions, to give you kind of a peek behind the curtain, is geared specifically towards one of those types. And so it'll start creating the points much better. In section 2, it's a little differently. In section 2, you're going to be creating a total of 4 between 2 questions. So you have 2 questions. Let's go with this first question set here. I am a social person and tend to feel very comfortable around anyone. Or I am not very social. I prefer to stick to myself. If I am not very social and prefer to stick to myself, I'd give it a 4. And then I'd give this, I am a social person, a 0. So that would look like 4, a 0 here, and a 4 here. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see better. Okay, so that's how it would be done. So it would either be a 0 or a 4. If you're like, well, I'm kind of a social person, I prefer to stick to myself, that's really true about me, but it's not exactly true, then I would do a 3 and a 1 so that they add to 4. That way, when we come over to the tally sheet, it's adding up and it's actually adding specific to the set instead of specific to how much each of those questions you felt that relationship to. So it's not a very clear process, and that's why I went to an easier quiz online. I just need to rebuild it. So that was something that I wanted to cover. In the future, if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to me. It's just a really fun way to kind of know more about ourselves. But there was confusion when you sent me your emails, because I was looking at the numbers going, man, I've never had somebody score higher than 72 in one category. And you guys were like 98 and 74. I'm like, what happened? So I went and looked at it, and that's what happened. So that's one thing I wanted to cover. Any questions on that before I move on? Jamar, Vasim, Mike, anybody? Okay. Then the second thing was last week, I went through and created we talked about the 3 key personas, and I created a worksheet, and that worksheet is designed to be a working worksheet, like constantly using it, reprint it, do it again, change stuff up. Mike said something that I want to reference. He said, Robbie, what would you do if you were going to Google this person? And I misunderstood the question and answered it incorrectly, but I want to bring it back up because Mike really brought up an important point. Like, if someone's going to Google, if you were to Google this person, what search terms would you use when you go Google them? That's what he was really trying to say. I remember that last week. And those are some of the things we can do. So I thought it was really, really important thing to do right now to show you how that actually works. So I'm going to share my screen and then ask Annie to come off of mute. Annie, are you available? I saw her phone on here earlier, but I drove away from my campsite, and I don't know if she had other things that she was doing. Oh, she's right there. Annie.
Hi.
Oh, there you are. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So thank you for being on here. Annie is my wife. I think most of you have met her maybe outside of Ahmad. And she is an incredible woman. She has opened multiple businesses over her career. She has had, mild success in certain areas, huge success in others. She's an extremely valuable business partner, and she has a really cool business idea, and I am doing it with her, and she is going to go and do exactly what you guys are doing. Which is to go through and define who her audience is as she's getting started. So she did that, and I would just love to have her share a little bit about how this worksheet worked, what it made her think about, what it kind of helped her plan for going forward, so that you could see that this working document is something that if you haven't quite used it yet, it would be a really smart move to get in, start going through and feeling and putting yourself in the shoes of these key personas. And like Mike said, your strategic partners and those others as well. So Annie, would you mind sharing how it was to go through this, kind of some of the benefits that you had, maybe some of the things that you did to make it easier for you to fill this out? Would you mind sharing that?
Yeah. So this worksheet was super beneficial just in helping me really dial in who it is that I'm trying to reach in what I'm trying to sell. And so what I did was I took 3 different people that I personally know that I think would benefit most from using the product that I'm going to create. And from there, so I started with my sister, for example, and I wrote down her name, what she does, et cetera, and then what her motivation would be for her to purchase my product. And then underneath that, where it says, and I don't have this sheet in front of me, babe, I'm sorry, it's just from my head. But well, lucky you.
You've got your motivation, and then you've got your thinking, feeling, and hearing.
So yeah, but then being able to like go into the brain of the person I'm thinking of and really thinking about what they're thinking about, what their thoughts are regarding the thing that I'm creating. What are their thoughts about this, and what are their feelings towards, if they were to have my product, how would that make them feel based off who they are and what their life entails? How is my product going to affect them in a positive way? Is my product going to serve them? Being able to write down all of those things and really getting into the mind of who my client is not only helps me be able to create a product specifically for them and what their needs are, but also helps me to be able to come up with creative ideas to market my product and creating. I had visions of commercials that I wanted to make as I was working through this worksheet. So it's really helpful, and I would do this over and over and over again. And I will do it over and over again because I'm married to the man that created it. So.
Oh, that's awesome. She was really in, and I have a tendency to interrupt her when she's like in the middle of working, and I was trying really hard not to because she was just dialed in. And then how long did this take you to fill all 3 of these out?
Yeah, like all 3 took me maybe 30 to 40 minutes because I knew exactly who I had in mind. I know what my product is, and I know what those types of people are looking for when I am able to just kind of put myself in their head.
Awesome. So how are you going to use this going forward, do you think?
So just because I'm still in my very fresh creative point of my business, just use it to engineer what I need to create and think about what kind of fabrics would be the best. Sorry, you guys have no idea what I'm making, so that's not relevant. But just really understanding my product better based off what my clients need.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for sharing. I know it's challenging to get on and say stuff from the heart like that on the spot. So you're amazing. I appreciate
Well,
you.
I hope it was helpful.
Yeah. Is that helpful, Mike?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you, Anna, for that. And one of the things I think that I want to circle back to, because you guys have heard us say this in the past. I can't emphasize it enough. Your brain is between your ears is the most evolved. They're just starting to figure it out. It's the greatest goal achieving machine on earth. And this process has you ask a question, the answer in which creates clarity, creates focus for yourself. And when you have that for yourself, you can communicate it, because you can't describe something. You can't describe an idea. You can't describe an idea that you don't have in your mind. So having this process and going through and thinking, putting yourself in the shoes, and that was one of the things I was really present to, which was that you were in the shoes of what that person's feeling, what they're thinking, what it's like to be in the audience and experience the benefit of this. Without that, what are we talking about? And so thank you. Awesome job. I love your feedback there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Robbie. Thanks, Mike.
So let's jump in really quick. I'm going to show you on Basecamp some of the stuff that's in there so that everyone's clear on that. So I've gone and started throwing some documents in here. I've got videos in here. We've got our YouTube videos as well that Mike has. But if you come into the, let me just go to the very beginning. So when we come into Basecamp, okay, and we come into our Elite Communication Mastermind, okay, if you go to this Docs and Files tab, Okay, and then just come to Elite Communication. You'll see all of these documents in there. Now, I throw in a ton of stuff that you might not need right now in your business. I want to give you guys the value so that when you need that at that stage, it's available. It's already there. You just remember to refer back to this section. So like the self-shaper and habit tracker, I don't know if anyone's using it right now because I don't know how intently you guys want to work on those habits. So if you're holding yourself accountable to it and you say, you know what, that's something I did want to do, print it out, put it up on your wall and check the boxes. It's really easy to do. It's not that challenging. You go through and choose one of the things that you want to do and change and, you know, work on, and then you just check off whether or not you did. So it's very simple. Okay. The 3 key personas worksheet is in there. I would recommend printing it out and then just doing it over and over and just kind of going, am I changing? Is it starting to adapt, erase things, stuff like that? I've got the personality test in there now. It's an Excel spreadsheet. The reason it didn't work before, it was Numbers, which is an Apple program instead. So I changed it to Excel. Should work now. It looked like it did for a couple of you. And then I've got this results-based presenting and messaging. This right here is something that won't probably be used until the very end, and you have a presentation. Let's say you're jumping onto a podcast. Okay, we were on our publishing mastermind last night, which was excellent, by the way, Mike. I left that thing going, man, I can't wait to get my book out. It's going to be amazing, you know. I think it was Rick that shared some really, really powerful stuff, and Gary as well. But you know, in that, I was sitting there saying, okay, you know, what is it that I want to be doing, you know? But if you know, as Rick was talking, he was saying, when you're going to release your book, you want to get on 30 radio shows every day for 30 days before you release your book. So I'm going, well, those are podcasts, those are radio shows, TV shows, whatever I can to promote myself. Well, what am I going to do when I get on there? This is a really great worksheet. So when I jump on a podcast, I will write down, okay, well, who's my audience? I'll find out really quick who's the main audience for the podcast. Okay, I'll say, okay, what is it that they would really want? What is it that I can provide? And I write down the result that I can provide, or, you know, that I would want out of it, the result that they would want. My result is usually look me up on my website, or, you know, check me out on Facebook, or reach out to me and set up an appointment. Whatever that result is, I've got to make sure and define that, and then define what they would want. And then I just go through and say, okay, in order for them to set an appointment with me, what do I need to do? I need to create one experience where somebody had an appointment with me, and I need to tell a story about how they were successful, what they were going through. So I can write down an experience in my worksheet where it's like, I need to come up with something, like I need to come up with something where they want to do this. So I can start creating my speech, creating my process. And it doesn't mean I'm going to do it exactly, but I've got a plan. I've got it right there in front of me. If you guys remember from our mastermind, I mean, from our training where you guys actually met me and we went through the 5, what was it? The 5 key areas of performance or something like that. The beginning of that, let me just pull it up for you and we'll just start going through it. But at the beginning of that, if you remember these key areas of performance, where are they at? There it is. 5 steps to increase performance. Remember when we went through this, it was plan first, right? Have that plan in place. And that's really what we're up to right now. We're up to that plan part. We're in the planning phase. We're saying, okay, what does the business look like? Who are our customers? You know, how are we going to reach out to them? How are we going to set up our Facebook? What should social media look like? Should I be reaching out? Mike is throwing a ton of ideas on your reach out, and that's part of the plan. We do have to create the message. We have to say, okay, what is it that we're going to say? What is it that we're going to do? But as Mike was sharing that Facebook idea, even I was thinking of Jamar and Torian and their Facebook group, and how easy it would be to just have a webinar, how easy it would be to just have a scheduled webinar once a month or once a week or once every other week, where people can come and learn what it is that you do. And whether or not they decide they want to do it right then is irrelevant, because you start building the foundation, you start doing it, you start practicing, you start hearing what people want to hear, you know, finding out what they don't want to hear, you know, and you start having to make some of the hard changes as a business owner and as a presenter to get that message into the right hands. We have one message that I've been working on for 6 months before we finally got our, how much it costs us to market, versus how much, that cost per lead is versus how much it's going to get us long term. 6 months to refine that message. And now finally we've bumped the dollars high enough where we can dump big money into the marketing campaign. That takes time. It is frustrating, but it is part of the process. So remembering these 5 steps to increase performance starts with that plan. That's what we're doing. Mike mentioned that we have a Facebook group where you can go Facebook Live. I'm going to open right now and let you know that we are going to be challenging you to do that. Not just to get on Facebook Live, but to get on Facebook Live with intention, with a plan, and get on there and have your very first run of being willing to share what your plan looks like with others. Now, that's something we're going to do once we have a little bit more preparation. I just want to let you guys know about that because we are about to begin that present state, which is, a week or 2 away, where we're going to ask you start to go out and present. So I've got to get you some details today on what that means, what it looks like to present, and how we start creating that story, what's involved, what details, what information. So that's what we're going to be covering today. I hope that it's all, up to this point made sense why we have focused primarily just on our audience and on ourselves and those things, and not really, started to draw the story out. I feel like it's really, really key. It's really important to get into a good space ourselves for us to create that storyline that's going to really, really involve people. Because I found when people share a story too soon, what will happen is, like, let me just give my wife as an example. Yesterday, she was on the phone with her mom. Okay. She's got this new business idea. And honestly, I think it is so amazing. If she goes and shares that with her mom right now, here's what's going to happen. She's going to share it with not quite enough detail to have her mom really get it. And her mom's going to have questions. There's going to be a lack of clarity that's going to cause fear in her mother. And her mom's going to go, wait, what are you doing now? You guys just sold your house. You're living in an RV. You're traveling around the country. And now you're going to start a new business in the middle of it. That's what's going to happen without the right information. So instead of sharing that information immediately and going, here's my story, blah, 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 it's let's formulate it. Let's create a formula so that I can hand the formula off and say, I know there's a lot of complex ingredients to my product, to my idea, and to everything, but it's formulated in a package that you can understand. All you have to do is look at the label. You know what's in there. You can look here and it's got all those details. This is the directions on how to use it. And there you go. If we can get our story to be that well, we can literally just, all the details are that simple. Now, whenever we have a conversation, we feel confident, but the person listening doesn't have fear because they don't have clarity. When we don't have enough clarity, we have fear. And that's what happens. So if she would have opened her mouth and started telling her mom about her business already, here's what would have happened. Her mom would have shut her down, would have made her feel bad about it. She wouldn't have been supportive because her message, it would have been Annie's fault, not her mom's, because her message wouldn't be ready to share yet. So I know that action's important. I know that it's important that we get our message out there and that we actually do it. And we have to have a version 1.0 of our story, which means it's going to change. But we want to get that prepared before we start really putting our foot out there. That way we're not confusing the masses early on, especially our warm and hot market, the people that already notice. We want to keep them close. Mike, I see you coming
Yeah,
on.
Gary, I asked Gary, and if you don't know Gary, you got to get to know him. He's an incredible author. And one of the things that he said, I said, Gary, what's the number one problem that authors make? And he said, or that prevents people from writing a book. Last night we said it was nothing preventing you from writing the book. But once you set out with the intention to make the decision to do something like write a book, bring your message into the world. You think about a book, it's a complete package. Your presentation is going to be a complete package. You can wrap it up. It's got a beginning, it's got an end, it's got a middle, right? Is that they start to, is that they go out, the idea isn't fully formulated, and they start talking to people who start changing the foundation of what they're trying to do. In other words, they're talking it, when you go to share, this is something that we are going to help you formulate so that it's bulletproof. When you go out there to share it with people and it's not fully finished, they're going to try to change your mind about things. You're going to be dealing with their fears, their frustrations, their challenges, their wants, needs, and desires. And it can muddy the water a little bit. So take massive action in the things that Robbie's asking you to do, like take the homework, bring it into reality. I'm going to ask you to make a commitment at the end of each session now, moving forward, to take this stuff and utilize it. Finish the homework, and start building the business, start building the outreach process. And then every week we're going to come back. The first thing we're going to say is, did you do what you said you were going to do last week? Now, I'm not going to tell you, Robbie's going to give you the homework, but I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to force you to commit to something. I'm going to ask that you commit to something, and I'm going to hold you accountable to whatever it is that you commit to. And that's what I ask. I ask that you honor your word, which is what our standards are here, right? So when you come back having done what you said you were going to do. If you struggle with that, if you're having breakdowns, reach out, and that's going to create that hunger for that next stage of development. And as you come back with those questions, we're going to be able to guide you to more and more resources. Because as Robbie said earlier, we've got a metric ton of resources for you. What resources we give you and in what order and where we have you focus is based off of what you need to take the next step. So let's constantly be engaged in that question of how are we going to take this information, apply it in a tangible way, and let's start doing it, as fast as we can, because speed to marketplace is a real thing, right? You want to learn this stuff while it's fresh. You're in that creative incubation period now, where you're around people who now understand gradient. You understand the distinctions, so you're going to get to that next level.
Yeah, man, that's so valuable, dude. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you kind of seeing that there's a lot of conversations that we're going to be having here, a lot of different areas where we're going to be using this. So I would like to kind of really quickly show you what we're going to cover today. We don't have a lot of time. I'm going to end up having to shoot videos, getting to shoot videos. I'm very excited about it, to record them, because I had that mishap where our internet wasn't working. So I'm going to get some of this to you in a way to digest it through the weekend. As we do this, though, I really just want to breeze through presence and method of public speaking. Like, what is the presence? What is method? And categorizing things so that we don't just go, I'm a good public speaker, or I understand sales. It's like, I'm a good public speaker because I understand the 5 key components. I know what they are, and I know which ones I'm good at and which ones I'm working on. I've watched speakers before and go, man, you're amazing at rapport, but you don't even understand what posture looks like. You're Mr. Likeable, and people will pay you with laughter and love and kindness and your awesomeness, but they'll never pay you with cash. They'll never give you a credit card. They'll never pay you for anything because you're just good at rapport. You don't understand how posture works and positioning works. Okay. So when we understand what they are, now we can kind of know what we want to work on, but also know what we're good at. Okay, we're going to talk about how to connect with any audience. As a public speaker, I was primarily speaking to a cold market. So about 15 years of my time and about 5,000 of my public speeches were to a cold market that didn't know who I was, never heard of me, didn't know anything about me. They knew the subject, so they were in rapport with the subject, but they were not in rapport with me. So I had to learn how to connect with any audience. I'll show you what that looks like, and then I'll give you 3 actionable ways to do it, to become likable, to get into that rapport state with somebody so that we're connecting and we're together. Okay. And then as soon as I do that, I'm going to get into the story formula. We're going to go through as much of that as we can here today so that you can start creating that foundation of what that looks like. So let's dive into this. Anything before I go, Mike?
Rock and roll, brother.
Okay. So presence and method of public speaking, there's really 2 different things. We have our presentation or our presence, and we have our method of how it's all done. Okay. Now the tools of public speaking look like this. We've got our foundation, which is our method and presence. And then those are each divided into separate subcategories. So method, for example, is rapport, posture, the framework of what we do. That's our outline. That's our storytelling outlines. That's our framework of when we introduce our costs, when we introduce our any type of ask that we have of them, the questions that we have throughout in order to get those advances. Because if we're looking to advance people, we have to ask if they're getting advanced. If we don't ask if they're getting advanced, then we don't really know. That's the challenge that I have on this thing when I don't get on and have you guys working. So here's what I'm going to ask for from this point forward in our masterminds. I am going to ask that each and every one of us gets on video so that I can see you, you can see me, and I can ask you to participate. Because once I've gotten these concepts on your brain, I want to see them in action. I would love to see you actually show me what rapport looks like by telling your story in 5 minutes. as if I'm someone you've never met before. I would like to practice those things with you, which means having a video of you is helpful. Now, if you don't have that as an option, either because you can't because you don't have the technology available or because you're driving or something, then I fully understand that. But I am going to encourage you to do that. I have found in every mastermind that I do, the people that come on with a video are more accountable to what they're doing because I can see them. I can see if they're taking notes. I can see if they get it. I can see their facial expressions, and it will be beneficial, I think, for everybody to do that. So from this point forward, if we can make sure and try and get that done, that would be amazing. But the questions help advances, and then gradient, we talked about those. That's the method. We have to understand the method. Once we understand the method, we can look at the presentation. Sorry, that's my phone. Hold on one sec.
Don't worry.
This is on my phone every day. Like, see what it says?
Hold on,
It says
everybody. Now we
pause.
need you to sing. This is part of the communication skills. If you want to feel comfortable, you need to learn how to sing publicly. You know?
No, I have that go off every day at noon. So it says pause, breathe, and find gratitude for one thing you've done today. And it's every day, so I pause and do that. So I'm going to take a really quick second to do that. I'm just grateful that I'm with you guys. That was my moment. So presence is the next. We've got method, we've got presence. Presence is my availability, what I stand for, like how I come across, where I'm coming from, how I show up, how I connect with others, how well I am in a situation where there's a lot of different people around. Am I the same to each of them? Can they tell, you know, or am I specifically only talking to one individual and ignoring everyone else? How am I doing that way? So that's our presence. Now, when it comes to the things that we should look to focus on, tonality. When we say the word big, it should be big, grand, huge, instead of huge. Big, it's grand. You know, so we've got to be aware of the tonality. One of the things that my mentor taught me is any of those words that are really big, that need to be enunciated, use everything when you do it. You know, and so tonality matters. Our body language matters. I'll show you how much it matters here in just a moment with some data, but how clear we are with our message, how simple our message is. These are all areas that we should focus on. So what I would encourage you to do is take a screenshot of this right here so that you can say, these are all things that I can be aware of and start working on and looking at. Okay. And as we look at those areas of focus, we begin to understand how this all will work. Okay. The mind and body are interconnected. This goes for us. This goes for other people. Our thoughts are transported throughout our body via neurotransmitters. Our body then expresses our thoughts as feelings. So when we talk about personality modes and someone is a lightning, for example, they're expressing their feelings of anxiousness, anxiety, those types of things that they're really at. When you see them standing tall at attention, they're extremely focused. You know, when we are angry, it's visual. Yesterday, my wife is so awesome. She's working on parenting skills like all of us are. And she had this moment where I go, Annie, don't yell. And she goes, I didn't yell. And I was like, oh, well, your body felt like you were yelling. Like, that's what I saw, you know, was that you were yelling. Like, she didn't yell, and I had to correct myself. But, you know, that was one of those moments where it's like our body actually is doing the talking for us. So remember these details. This is a study from years and years ago, I think like 1950 or something. But in a face-to-face communication, about 7% of that communication is the words we say. 38% is the tone we use. I love that scene in A League of Their Own, where he's sitting there reading a book to a baby, and it's a book that has like really racy details, but his tone of voice is like he's reading that baby this little, you know, bedtime story, because the tone is what the baby was able to. They didn't have any context for what the words meant. About 55% happens without saying a word. So 55% of our communication is physiology. So if we go back and say, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? It doesn't matter. It does, but it doesn't. It matters how you say it, how your body says it, what your tone says, what your internal belief says about what you're saying. That's what we're trying to get at here. Is it's not the words. The words matter, and words do matter, but it's behind the scenes of those words. We can feel when someone isn't honest with us. Not always, but we do our very best. We can feel when someone is just a little bit off, you know? So what are we doing to make sure we're aware of those things? Mike Peluso.
Yes. Okay. So Robbie, this is brilliant, man. Amen for a rock. All right. So what, you know, one of the things, so, you know, when we're coaching and you're listening, coaching or listening or in a communication, we use the word, what is this person committed to beyond what they're saying? What is this person committed to? And what's behind that? You guys have, we all know that term. Oh, well, that's, you know, what's behind that, right? Robbie, do we have enough time to workshop this? Just to do an example, right?
I'd love to. Yeah, go ahead. If you know if you know where you're going with the workshop, I was about to give him a self-awareness exercise that's going to be done after. So let's workshop now, and then I'll give him something to do later.
Yeah, let me just spotlight here. Oh, menu. Let me just pull myself up here. 1 second, guys.
Annie, did you come off mute to share something or?
No, I just.
Okay.
No. Nope. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Let me just 1 second here. Or I don't know why, Robbie. I can't. I'm having a hard time. I can't find a spotlight for myself here. I'm just gonna make you a host so that you could do it for me. Oh, here we go. I think I found it. More. Nope. Edit profile picture. It wants me to edit my profile. 1 second here. Make co-host. So you should be able to spotlight me now, right? More.
Go, bud.
There we go. All right. So listen, that was horrible. That was horrible. Versus, that was horrible. You guys feel that? So there's what I'm saying. That was horrible. Which if you just listen to that, you'd be like, ugh. Versus, yeah, that was horrible. So can you hear the the distinction between the tonality and what I'm saying? Robbie, you want to give me one?
Yeah, you know, whenever we're introducing a price, this is a place where I love to listen to someone's voice, because you'll listen for it to crack or how bold they are with or anything like that. So let me just give you one that you can hear the nonverbal, but you can also hear the words. Okay, I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah. Good. So okay. So
how about this? I am really excited about this. It's
right.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear now? Okay, so now listening for what someone's really committed to when it comes to your children, when it comes to your significant other, when it comes to negotiation is super important, because if you can get down to what they're really committed to and have them feel that they've communicated that, right? So if I come in here, think about it, there's what somebody's saying and there's what someone's trying to communicate. What they're trying to communicate is often it's an emotional state, right? So if I come in here and I'm like running around, I'm like, oh, what's going on here? You know, how you guys doing? I'm like, oh, well, yeah, things are really good. Well, I've been kind of stressed a little bit. And you're like, well, hold on, wait a minute. Got it. You've been bumper to bumper busy. You know, or you've been, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with your personas, which is every person here, like I'm a visual, right? So, or excuse me, I'm an auditory. So I need to hear that you hear, oh, I hear what you're saying. Will go way different than, oh, I see what you're saying versus, oh, I feel you, right? I hear what you're saying. But if you can reiterate what that person is committed to, what they're committed to communicating, that's underneath the words, that what's there, what's happening without them, what they're not really saying. It's the essence that's there. And I know I'm kind of speaking a little, but we all know that's what's there. Like if you think about relationships that you've had and that person's like, listen, like, honey, I love you. I love you. That, they're committed to, underneath that I love you is this commitment to something, being connected maybe. Right? Okay, I got it. I got it. And I understand and I'm connected to. Some being gotten, we call it. That's the juice of what allows people to feel connected, for them to feel inspired, and for them to be enrolled. So guys, this right here, the distinction, this is so valuable. Listening to what's really going to make a difference to somebody. What are they really connected to, what are they really committed to conveying, and why are they really conveying it? If they can walk away feeling gotten about what it is that they're committed to, then they're going to know, like, love, and trust you. You're going to be able to enroll them. You're going to be able to ask them to take the next step, because that's what we're trying to do. Communication happens over there. Communication happens when I feel that I've communicated what it is that I'm communicating. Like I could just keep going on and on and on. Like right now, I'm just going on and on and on. And I don't know whether or not you got what it is that I'm communicating. And I may just continue to go on and on and on and on until Robbie's like, okay, Mike, we got it. There's something underneath what's being said that you're trying to communicate. And as long as we get that you've communicated it, we've got it. And then I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. Because now there's nothing left to say. Did that make sense?
It does make sense. And the thing, I was trying to find a good example, and I found a really easy example. I was thinking, how did I use this? Where did I get this? How did I use this? I read it in the book. I've read in all sorts of books, but How to Get Someone to Like You in 90 Seconds. Mm-hmm. And then in my head, I said, how am I going to use this? How am I going to actionably do this? And it came in the question, how are you doing? When you ask that question, how are you doing? Not only do me, the question asker, can I judge myself on this moment right here, but I can but I can be with the other individual to find out how they're doing. So I don't let people get away with how are you doing, ever. I never let someone get away with how are you doing. When they say, how are you doing? When I say, how are you doing? And they say, okay, I'll just go, oh, okay, just okay. I'll mirror them and just repeat to them what they said. Okay. And I'll try and use the same body language. And every time it happens, they have more to say about how they're not having a good day. So it's the prime place for us to go, what are they actually saying? When I say, how are you doing? And they say, I'm doing great. And I go, you're great. And I just copy what they did. I just copy it. I just go, you're great. Annie's going to be laughing on the other end because she sees me do this all the time. I do it at stores. I do it everywhere. People will say, how are you doing? My friend will call me on the phone and say, I'll say, how are you doing? He says, I'm living the dream. And I'll be like, what does that mean? Living the dream? Can you tell me? Because I'm not going to let them off the hook. So a great place to test this and start working on it is in that question. If I ask, how are you doing? And I let someone off the hook for the response, I didn't really care how they were doing. I didn't ask them and want a response. I let them off the hook when they said, I'm doing okay. If someone ever tells me they're doing okay, I want to step in and help. That's what I want to do. That's my very first thing is like, okay, how can I help? So instead of immediately helping, I'll typically go, oh, just okay. So that they can feel okay with my help later, and helping them feel better. And you'd be surprised how many people in a day you can have go, man, you really just made my day. Thank you. Just by using that one part, but great place to test it out. So next time you're in that situation where you're asking that, how are you? Let's see how present you are. Let's see how present they are and see how much of this stuff can be seen. Okay. Now I want to give you one, any thought to add on that before I go to this exercise, Mike?
No, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay. So this self-awareness exercise, see how quickly I stepped over the top of you. It didn't sound like I was very interested in what you said, but I knew what you were going to say.
See what he's really committed to, right?
So think about your body language the next time. Okay, this is your self-awareness exercise, leaving here today, action development. Think about your body language when someone challenges you with a question. Does your physiology telegraph confidence or nervousness? I had to work on this when I had news crews showing up to events. I was with one company that started to get some investigation by something, you know, like malpractice issues or whatever. And I was part of the organization. I had nothing to do with anything else, but because I was there, they were interviewing me. They were sending me news crews. You know, I was getting the stuff. So they would ask me a question, and I had to go through training myself with this PR firm to go with a specific response that kept my physiology the same, because your physiology is going to say way more on camera. So now I'm on camera. A guy shoving a camera in my face. Hey, what about this? You know, well, that's how big a camera is these days, apparently. But, you know, he's got his camera in my face. And if my physiology goes like this, like, whoa, dude, what does this look like, Mike? What am I doing?
You're completely withdrawal. I mean, it's like somebody attacked you.
Yep, I'm being defensive. I'm going, oh, you know, and so it doesn't matter what I say at that point. They've got footage of me going, I'm defensive. It doesn't matter what words come out of my mouth. So we have to understand that. So when someone challenges you with a question, do you telegraph confidence or nervousness? So, you know, someone interviews me on a podcast and they say, Robbie, give us, you know, one really good thing for public speaking. How I come across in that moment, if I say, oh, you know, I don't know if I have anything that's going to be helpful or not, but I'd love to, I don't know, maybe I'll share, I don't know. Well, oh, this might help. That's really, really terrible physiology and language. But when someone asks me that question, could you share one thing? One thing? Oh man, I wish I had more time to share. I've got so many things I know that could really help you. Let me just give you one thing really fast that I know will immediately impact everybody. You see the difference in my confidence level between telegraphing nervousness and confidence? You know, it's like, know yourself enough to be confident, you know? Second one is, if a customer tells you they don't have the money to invest in your product, what does your physiology tell them? That was one I had to work on over and over and over, as I was having people say, man, I really want to do this. I don't have the financial ability right now. Well, what does my body language look like? Am I like, oh, really? Like, oh, shoot. Like what am I doing in that situation to help them feel safe, to help me retain my posture and confidence? What am I doing? So think about your body language in any of those situations going forward. This is what Richard, you know, I think it's interesting that we have people flying into space, including Richard Branson. So I respect what he's saying right here because of what he's been able to accomplish. He says, as an entrepreneur or small business owner, you are as valuable as your ideas. But if you cannot persuade others to buy into your ideas, then they remain simply ideas with no results. I encourage every one of you right now to take whatever you have and stop looking at it like it's an idea and start looking at it like it is a workable process, system, business, product that you are going to actually utilize and put out there to the masses so that those results come to you. And it's not just a conversation of the idea, but it's actuality of it. When we're done with this 8 weeks, your communication is going to be confident. It's going to be present. You will be aware, intentional, capable in any moment, and you are going to be interesting. When you're interesting, people want to know about you. When you're interesting, you attract customers, you attract referral partners, you attract strategic partners. That's what it's going to look like for you. So that's presence and method. Anything to add on to that, Mike? I saw you jump off mute for just a moment. Want to respect that each time.
No, you know what? I think that like at the heart of it, we've all seen, you know, if you take a look at somebody's posture, how many of you guys have seen that, like, the person walks into the room and they're flat backed, you know, wearing a cowboy hat, and they come walking up, hey, you know, it's almost like got that tight ass posture, right? And then we've all seen other people like the little Donald Duck, you know, hey, what's going on, right? So when Robbie says posture, he's not just talking about being on stage. I mean, it literally physically shows up in how you carry yourself across the room, because your physical body is mirroring your communication skills, that the conversation in your head. So thank you. I just wanted to make sure that people see that we're not posture. It's all about, you know, your posture.
Yeah, man. So before we get into the story formula, which is how I'm going to wrap, all I'm going to do with the story formula is help you realize why it's so important and where we're going to go with it. I want to teach really quickly about rapport. This is the first step whenever we're building a business, whenever we're attracting a customer, whenever we're gaining an audience, whenever we're selling a product, any of those times, rapport is the first thing we need. Rapport is a specific relationship and connection with either a person or an idea. So rapport is, if I say someone's in rapport with me, that means that we are in rapport, me as an individual. When I say they're in rapport with the subject matter, that means that they're really in rapport with the idea and the subject matter. If they're in rapport with both, that means they are in rapport with the subject matter. I really believe in, let's just say it's aerospace and being able to go to Mars. If they're in rapport with that idea already, then they're in rapport with going to Mars. If they're in rapport with me, that means that I have rapport with them as well. If I was an astronaut that had that type of belief and I was communicating to my audience, now I'm communicating that connection. If they have rapport with me and a rapport with my idea, then we're in really, really good shape. So it's our very first step when we get on stage to be able to create that rapport. Now, the easiest, most powerful way to do that is to be confident from stage. So our very first step is truly confidence, to stand on stage confidently, to stand, if it's our website, it's to put the website out confidently. If it's our About Us page on our website, it's about writing that story confidently. It's all of those things. Confidence is sexy. Confidence sells. Confidence is what's going to help us. Our goal is to have rapport. Now, when we have rapport, what we're really creating is a connection. Now, there's all sorts of different definitions for rapport, like what does it mean? I love, my favorite example of what rapport is I'm with you. But the origin is this French word meaning to bring back. So when I'm in rapport with someone, it's to bring back, it's to create that fellowship, which means that we were at, if I have an audience, that means that I believe that we are worth being connected. It's a friendly, harmonious relationship, a relationship characterized by agreement, mutual understanding, or empathy that makes communication possible or easy. So my favorite definition is I'm with you. So if I'm with you, okay, and they feel that same way, I'm with you, then I have built rapport. So if I ever ask that question, are you with me on that? I'm asking a rapport question. Who's with me on that one? Okay. Oh, you are. Okay, good. I'm getting rapport right then. You see how Mike magically raised his hand right there. I love it. It's a programmed response, dude. We'll raise our hand. I love that, but it's that I'm with you feeling that we want to get. So when we think of the gradient, okay, and we drew this out last time, let me see if my share works. Guys, let me know if you can see. See, it's not working. Sorry, I've got this program on here. It really is awesome. It lets me share my iPad so you can see what I'm doing.
Robbie, we should come up with an acronym for the report, like.
Let me fix it, bro. I got acronyms, all sorts of them.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. Let's go with that. Okay. So can you see my iPad screen now with the personas?
Yeah, but it's upside down.
Okay. Let me just see what I gotta do to get that fixed.
Ah, there he is.
Now, is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Okay, so when we talk about the gradient, remember we talked about this gradient? Okay, so this is a gradient. Okay. There's a steep gradient, there's a shallow gradient. And depending on the information, we talked about how far away from that information we are. When someone's in rapport, it's like they're coming in at the same level of us. So they're like coming in at this same level of gradient. So when we're talking about rapport, we can actually draw a gradient of rapport. Like if I want someone to be with me that we're going to Mars in 10 years. Okay. If I want someone in rapport with that idea, then I would have to show them a series of 4 or 5 different things that would help prove that to them. And if I do that over a period of time, okay, then by the time we get there, their rapport gradient, they're actually going to be equal with me on that belief. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, and I'm just going to use the religious one because it's an easy one, or marriage or whatever. But, you know, if you think at the bottom, you know, this is like, hey, I'm getting to know you. I know, you know, I know of you, but I don't know about you, you know, and then by the time you're done, you're getting married, or you're getting baptized, so to speak, you know.
Yep. That's exactly what I was hoping you would understand about it. Is that's exactly what we're doing. Is smaller commitments lead to bigger commitments, you know, but they're smaller, you know, agreements in the rapport point of view. It's smaller, tiny agreements of I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm with you, to the big agreement of I'm with you, we are going to Mars. You know, it's like, you know, all those things. So rapport is a key ingredient. So step 1 is establishing rapport with our client, with our customer, and building that I'm with you feeling. Now, as we're looking for them and customers, we realize we are having conversations with everyone. So being in rapport is going to be with everything. This is our audience. This is followers on our Facebook groups and social media. You know, this is our customers. This is our investors that might be interested in us. This is our team. This is our organization. This is our referral partners. This is everybody. So whoever we're having conversations with, we want to be in rapport. So how can we program that? How can we actually plan for the rapport? So the first thing that I like to do, and this is another one of those things I'm going to challenge each of you to do, is I like to work on people's self-concept. Now that I've done it, you're going to hear it from other times throughout other calls, and you'll see it in the emails that I sent. Self-concept is the way that we feel about ourselves. And if we want someone to make a purchase, they won't purchase something outside of their own self-concept. So what we want to do is start creating a self-concept, or help refining their self-concept to be more agreeable to the purchase we're helping them make. For example, if I am a drummer, let's just use a guitar player. I'm a guitar player. If you got a pair of drumsticks, I'm not your target market because I play the guitar. Now, if those drumsticks were signed by James Taylor, now you'd have me because he's a guitar player. So my self-concept is I'm a guitar player. I'm not going to buy drumsticks. You're going to have to refine your message in order for me to want to buy drumsticks. Whereas if I'm a drummer, I'm ready right now for it. So if we want someone to buy from us, we have to help them feel like they are inside the market of how we can help them. So self-concept is something I'm constantly working on helping other people with. So for example, I like to use the gym as an example because so many of us have experienced it. When someone comes to me at the gym and, you know, they say, I want to be able to, you know, get healthy at the gym, I will immediately say to them, I am so grateful that you are the type of person that takes their health seriously. Now, whether or not they do or take their health seriously is not the point. The point is I'm going to tell them that they're the type of person that takes their health seriously so that they start believing it more about themselves. Self-concept is something I am working on with people constantly when I can see that they need a change of self-belief. So like with my wife or with my kids, you know, I'll say things like, you are the type of person that. So whenever that comes out, that's me working on their self-concept. So I will encourage each and every one of you to start impacting people's self-concept when you talk with them. Whenever you talk with them, Torian is so good at this. He helped me and Annie with our self-concept when we sat and had this conversation in Vegas, where he stared at us and said, this is who you are. This is who you are. And so often we forget that and need other people to remind us. So I'm so grateful for Torian for reminding me and Annie who we are, you know, and what our self-concept is. Those are the things that we can do to help attract customers. If you are the type of person who is looking for freedom in this, and this, now we've got a marketing message because we understand self-concept. The reason this is so important is because what somebody thinks in their mind is not the most important thing, but they don't know it. Robert Cialdini in his book, The Power and Persuasion of Influence, said, nothing in life is as important as you think it is while you're thinking about it. Nothing. And yet we make it seem that way. so often. Have you ever felt overwhelmed in the middle of something where it was like everything's going fine and then you can't get a screw to go into something and then everything just gets worse and then it's worse and then you're just so angry and then you explode? Because getting that screw in was the most important thing in the world and I couldn't get it done. And so it made me flip out, you know, and lose it. So when we understand, this is one of the most important concepts I ever was taught by my mentor, is that what we are thinking about is not the most important thing in the world. And that's something that very few people ever get to that level of awareness in their life. They think what they think about is the most important thing, and that doesn't give them the ability to grow. So we have to take that and go, okay, if what they think is so important, I'm going to help change what they think by telling them what to think, by saying, this is your self-concept. You are the type of person that cares about your health. Now they think about it, and they go, oh, that's important, that's important, that's important. And if it's important and I'm selling health and wellness, I am making them feel like it's more important just because I planted that thought into their mind. Mike, come in. Does this make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things that we said, one of my favorite sayings, and we actually just put it on a shirt, is life, it's not what you think. It isn't. It's life, it's not what you think.
So everyone thinks that, though. Their brain thinks that.
It's not that. You know, one of the things I want to make sure that we touch on here, guys, and I'm going to circle back here because this is the gold right here. This is the gold. The way that your brain works is it runs on language. And if I were to say, man, Robbie or Torian or anybody, you have so much potential, there is a side of that that's like, man, Mike really believes in me, the visionary. And then there's a side of that that's like, oh, I'm not good enough now. And that's the victim. And in every given moment, there's just this sound that's coming out of people. And what we're doing is we're taking our past experiences, our past meaning, and listening to what that person's saying and collapsing their words into our own definition of what we're saying based off of what Robbie's sharing, based off of what it sounds like they're committed to, based off of the words, and based off of their physical body language, right? So what he's talking about here is this. The brain can't keep two things in its conscious awareness at once. If everybody right now takes a look at their computer, take a look at the letter P. If you just take a look at the letter P, you'll notice that you are not thinking at all about the letter S. It's not in your awareness. Your focus, what's important to you, your focus is on P, and S is no longer in your awareness. Well, the same way that your focus is on P and S is no longer in your awareness, when you hear you have so much potential, you're going to naturally migrate towards one side of that, P, or the other side of it, S. And when you focus on that one and you collapse it into the meaning, you've now become blind to the other side. So what Robbie's sharing with you is that you have the opportunity to ask somebody to consider the other side of what they're saying is possible or what they're saying is factual by reframing it and giving it back to them in a way in which they can agree with it. When you use your power of agreement, your as we were sharing at the expo, your to literally take the words and the experiences and wire them neurologically into your brain. So when I say, hey guys, isn't this the most incredibly transformational conversation in the world? Isn't it? Isn't it? And you're like, yeah, all of a sudden that becomes part of the fabric of your brain that you now self-reference other decisions from. So you are actually, when someone agrees with what you're saying, creating neurological patterns in their brain. And that is what they are going to self-reference later on. You have the opportunity when somebody's coming up and struggling and in pain and suffering to say, is it possible that you can do this? Is it possible that you're not stuck? And when they consider it, because you can't both look at P and look at S at the same time, right? You can't do it at the same time. When you ask them to consider the other side of their language as possible, and they do so, it literally dissolves the one holding pattern and allows them to reconsider what's there. It gives them a fresh look. So now, if you take a look, you'll notice that if you try to look at P and S at the same time, the first thing will be that you bounce back and forth, And what'll happen is you won't be able to do it both. So at best, you'll be able to relax and then choose which one you want to focus on. That's meditation. That's the opportunity of being comfortable in the uncomfortable enough to choose to create. And what you get to choose to create is what comes out of your mouth when you're coming from that place of presence, when you're coming from that place of right here, right now, being full. And that's what people will hear when you're committed to transforming people's lives, because you're in the fabric of what's possible. And from that fabric, you're creating with your language a conversation that brings them to betterment, to the present moment being a solution, to taking an action towards their dreams. You are changing somebody's life, and you're doing it with language. And rapport is essential because and gradient is essential because that is their agreement with the transformational journey of understanding a conversation for transformation inside of their life. So sorry, all right, I'm done.
You love the conversation with conversation.
Conversation of transformation, baby.
Yeah, good stuff. So let's really quickly get some actionable items like I promised you I would. Let's learn really quick. We've learned what rapport is. Let's talk about 3 elements of rapport that we can influence quickly, and then show you how we can implement this daily and show you how that's done. Just a reminder on stimulus and response. When we make a promise, okay, and we find the benefits within our product, we can make promises that we know we can keep. So stimulus and response is a great way to create rapport. If we want to build trust, we make promises. So early on, hey, I promise you by the end of this conversation, you're going to know 2 different things that are going to be able to help you in your life. Well, if I make that promise and then later they have 2 things, I go, did you get the 2 things? And they say yes. And I go, is that valuable? And they say yes. I go, is that helpful? And they say yes. I say, would you like more of that in the future? And they say yes. I say, that's a lot of yeses, man. Let's get started. It's a lot easier for me to show them the value when I actually make those promises. So I wanted to bring that up, because if we want to be able to create this stimulus and response approach, a great way to build rapport is to make promises. Now, as we do that, I love to use the easiest ways to create rapport. And the 3 easiest elements of rapport are ones that every one of us already does. They're things we can do every single day. They're things that we can program into our habits, and then we will become more likable just by nature. On a daily basis, I have people come up to me and say, how do I know you? Every day, ask my wife. People say, I know you from before, or I did, how did I know you? Or I'll randomly have people come up to me, and it's because I'm focusing on these easy elements of rapport. What is it that I can do? The first element is attention. Giving people your undivided attention. It's amazing how much just having your phone in front of you will distract an actual connection with a human being. If you're talking to them and your phone is like this and you're checking it, or you're checking a text, like, you're not really there. So give them undivided attention. When I talk to someone, I focus in on their eyes long enough to check their eye color. I do that because if I could focus in long enough to check their eye color, they know I've got their attention. Sometimes it throws people off because they're like, why are they looking at me so intently? Because no one ever looks at me. No one really takes the time to go, I know you enough to know your eye color. So that was one of the big tips I had. Give them that undivided attention. Okay. The second about attention is, if I want them in rapport with my subject, I have to channel attention towards that subject, towards certain ideas, certain anchors. For example, if I wanted them to, think of an example. Let's say I wanted them to drink more water every day. I felt like that was something that was really important, and it had nothing to do with the subject that we were on. I would want to start bringing up some idea where I talked about how important water was and how key it was to survival. So I want to have subjects or ideas where I'm talking about that, so that I'm getting their attention on wanting to drink more water. So it's giving them attention, but it's also channeling their attention, because like Mike said, our brain can't think of 2 things. If we channel their attention towards one, we are now creating their thought patterns, not them. So when I'm in my meeting, I'm going, I know so many of you here today came to learn this, this, and this. Those are the 3 things you came to learn. Whether they did or not, I just told them that's what they came to learn, and their attention is now on those 3 things. So I can channel their attention so that they're not sitting there going, oh, what's the weather like out there? How's Tommy doing in school? Or how is that, thing at work going? If they're focused on those things, they're not with me, I want to channel their attention. Okay. So that's the first element. One of the easiest ways to do that, we're going to talk about next week with storytelling, but think about why TV and film engages us for so long. Why is that happens? Well, it's wherever our focus goes, our energy flows. So when we have a visual image and it attaches to our prefrontal cortex, and here we are looking at this image. Now that we're looking at that image, everything else dissipates. It just goes away. TV puts us in what's called a trance. It puts us in a literal trance, a half aware mental state where we're in a stupor, a daze of some sort. That's what a trance is. And whenever we're watching TV, we are literally in a trance, because people could try to talk to us, but we're focused on what's going on. People could try to get our attention, and oftentimes we don't even know they exist. Wherever our focus goes, energy flows. So we want to channel their attention, much like TV channels attention. And I believe the best way to channel attention is to give people a visual. If you can give them a visual, their attention is going to go that direction. So we paint visual pictures, we say visual words. We're going to talk about that when we get to storytelling. Now, element number 2, positive feedback. Okay. The positive feedback is a key ingredient to a public speech. It's a key ingredient to a marketing message. It's a key ingredient to a customer service message. It's a key ingredient to a sales process. When we offer compliments and recognition for efforts and things they value, then that positive feedback creates rapport. So here's what that looks like for me. When I get to a hotel, when I get to a hotel, I want a better room. I want a suite. I want free water. I want a Wi-Fi. I want all the things. So I'm going to go right from the very beginning, and I'm going to work with the person that I feel like is going to be able to get me a suite, get me the upgrades, get all those things without me having to pay for it. Because I want to experience life at a high level, which means that I know they can do those things for other people. So I know they can do them for me. So I'm going to find the person at the front desk, and I'm going to put their attention on the right things, and I'm going to start offering positive feedback. When we offer compliments and recognition, it makes people feel good. Picture and imagine a time in high school, or let's go back to elementary school. Every one of us went to elementary school. Picture being in elementary, whatever class it is. Teacher calls on, it says, does anyone know this answer? Does anyone know this answer? And we're raising our hand. We're in the back. I know the answer. I know the answer. Teacher calls on us. We give the answer. How does that make us feel when we're right? Teacher goes, good job, Robbie, you did it. How does that make us feel in front of everyone else? And then what does that make everyone else want to do? Positive feedback is one of the best ways to get engagement inside a group. So when you have a group setting, understanding how to offer positive feedback is going to make sure that the rest of the group does it. So if I offer positive feedback, anytime I have a hand raised question, I've programmed myself to offer positive feedback. Okay. So things like this. Give yourself a round of applause. You guys are nailing this. See, you guys really get this, don't you? You guys are crushing this. You guys are right on track. I love how you guys think. These are all positive feedback that I have programmed into my language so that I can say that and they will be in rapport with me and with the message. So we want to look at creating positive feedback. So here's my rule. Whenever someone in my meeting answers a question, I offer positive feedback. Whenever someone participates, I offer positive feedback. Whenever someone tries in a positive direction, I give them positive feedback. And it starts to really, really come easily where you get to the point where you can just do it all the time. You can give people positive compliments. You can make them feel good. And it's just an amazing way to become. So that's our second key, is positive feedback. How can you create positive feedback more often? I programmed it into my meetings. For example, at the beginning of my meeting, I use what's called an enrolling question. An enrolling question is, how many of you this, and how many of you have done this? How many of you have not done this? That way, 100% of the people have to participate, because some have, some haven't. So when we start implementing that into our meeting, and I say, I've got now an enrolling question where 100% of the people have to raise their hands, How can I use positive feedback now?
You know, Robbie, I want to just cut you off real quick there. You guys, how many of you guys saw Robbie do this at the expo? Right there. You guys see it? Right. Oh, you guys see it right there? Oh, Mike just did it. Right. We're talking about something that really happens.
Yeah. How many of you, well, at the expo, I did it. You know, how many of you have ever trained with me before? Raise your hands. How many of you have never trained with me before? Oh, well, no matter what, when they do it, this is the way it sounds. How many of you have ever trained with me before? Raise your hands. Oh, it's awesome. That's awesome. It's great to have you here. How many of you have never trained with me before? Oh, wow, that's so many of you. Well, whether you have or not, I am so excited to be with all of you here today. I force everyone to get positive feedback so they get that warm, fuzzy feeling. I call them dog biscuits. Just give them the little dog biscuits, man. Make them feel good about every little thing that they do. And when you do, you're helping them to participate more. So that's the second one. Now, the third one is my favorite of all of them because it's utilized in so many areas. Commonality. Positive feedback. Eventually, sometimes people they're like, that's too positive for me. You know, sometimes people overdo it. They offer positive feedback in the wrong direction, you know, because we don't want to always offer positive feedback. Commonality, though, is one of those ones where we can use it in our marketing message, our sales message. We can use this when we're pitching to investors. Anytime we have a communication. When we find things in common with someone else, those are areas where we can have conversations. So we want to look for areas where we share interests or common interests. So we used to play a commonality game when I was traveling a lot with my team to help them work on this. It was whenever someone would say something to us, we would have to find commonality. In fact, I'm going to practice this with Mike Peluso really fast, put him on the spot. I'm going to say something. You just have to you just have to find commonality with something that I have to say without one-upping me. This isn't one-upsmanship saying, oh, I have something better. It's I'm the same as you. I'll give you an example. Hey, Mike, I am a musician. I absolutely love to play the guitar and perform in front of a live audience. It's so much fun.
Oh, I know, man. I'll tell you, I actually learned how to play the drums when I was a really young kid. It's an incredible experience. It's been one of the it's been one of the foundational things that I feel like we have in common.
That's awesome. So Mike has something in common. Even though he doesn't play guitar, he's in music. So he found something and he went to that. It's a fun game to play. I would encourage if you have anyone to ad lib with to do that, but just go back and forth, finding commonality between each other. Okay. Now, when I'm building rapport, when people say things, Mike, I'll give you some coaching on this. When I said what I said, it would have been great to start with something like, oh man, that's amazing. I'm with you on that. I love music. Something like that to begin the conversation and then go into what you have to say. Okay. I remember, things like this when I was giving the training in Vegas. I talked about, hey guys, I remember sitting in your seats. I've been there before. I remember sitting in your seats. I want to give them the visual that I'm like them. Okay. But whatever they share, seek to find commonality with it. This is something we can practice every single day. Now, those are the three key, easiest elements to focus on: attention, positive feedback, and commonality. Now, when you use those three elements, you're going to be able to build rapport, and it is literally the most important part of your message to begin with, because once they have a connection with it, now we can start getting them to desire a solution for pain points, things like that. And that's where we can start creating our sales process of building the next step, which is posture. Okay. I know this stuff works. This is me back in 2001. Andy Tanner's my mentor. All three of those people surrounding Andy, he's the one in the middle with the red tie. All three of those people went on to make millions and millions of dollars as public speakers. We all worked underneath Andy. We wanted to learn what he taught us, and his influence teaching me rapport specifically has completely changed the course of my life in a positive way. So once we have established rapport, it's about understanding how to build posture. We're going to get into positioning and posture next week. I want to share really quickly to end the story formula outline of what it is that we're going to be covering. I'm going to go over the story formula next week. I'll have a couple of videos to introduce some of it, but the story formula is too many things to be going over when we're going to be rushed. So instead of that, I'm going to ask everyone to focus on what we've done up to this point, which is those key personas, get those things drawn up, figure out how you can plan rapport into your life. I'll shoot a video on a rapport game plan that I have that you guys can use if you would like. This is what it looks like. But the rapport game plan essentially is going to allow you to, looks a little bit like this. It's going to allow you to plan positive feedback into relationships, plan attention and commonality. I had one of the people that I worked with, is a CEO of a company, and he just wanted to be able to spend more time with his son. He just felt like he wasn't connected. Well, he felt like he wasn't connected with his son. So my solution in that situation was, let's plan 20 minutes of undivided attention. Let's just plan that every day, 20 minutes, and see how that works. And I'm very happy to report it worked fantastically. So I'll shoot a little video on this to see if you guys want to do that. It's one of those things that, you know, you can work on it if you want to, but it's just another buffet item. But what I would like to do is go through really quickly what the story formula is and how we're going to utilize that next week to start rooting out our main story items. This is going to help us have a better sales and marketing message. It's going to talk about where we're going to utilize the different stories we have, how to formulate the stories, how to store them so that we can use them later. And we're going to talk about the different blind spots that people don't realize in storytelling. For example, oftentimes people look at the current place they're at in their life and they talk too much about that. That creates fear in other people because they're not really there yet in their business. If someone's brand new and they're just starting their business out, they can't talk about their business as if they're just starting out in business and expect people not to be afraid about that. They have to learn how to say it more efficiently, talk about their history, talk about some of the things they're credible with, and why a business right now for them would make sense. You know, that's going to be a better approach. So we're going to talk about those blind spots. While we do that, we're going to show you how to speak from the heart. I don't want to create a bunch of stories and create a bunch of robotic people going, this is what my story is, and it is so good. It's like not valuable. When you can speak from your heart, they're going to get it. John Ford said, you can speak well if your tongue can speak the message of your heart. So we're going to help you do that. Now, as we do that, and we get into actual details on the story formula, I don't have time to do it right now. I'm going to shoot a video on this. I'm going to build it up so that you can get it. But when we get into it, I'm going to show you the science behind it, how many areas of the brain are affected by, you know, when you're using stories, and I'm going to show you what the outline looks like. So we'll get into that next week. But look for a few videos from me this week that is going to introduce the science of storytelling. I'm going to introduce the rapport game plan, those two things, and the homework that you guys are going to have is to go through the key personas worksheets, okay, and make sure that you have at least started that process, so that when we get together next week, we can hear what those key personas are, the people that you feel like you can help, and then we're going to get in and start showing you how you can start sharing the message directly with them. So that's where we're headed.
Yes. Now, thank you, Robbie. Oh, beautiful, baby. All right, so here's something that we're going to be doing that is really, I want to begin to, we've got a lot going on here, but I want to begin to really give you traction, a focal point for some of these conversations that we've got. You've learned a metric ton from Robbie, and now we got to put it to work, right? So I shared with you earlier about how we are launching a live workshop. We're using StreamYard, and we're going live on a regular basis. I am inviting you to go live with us and share what it is that you're going to be doing. And I'd love for you to practice your rapport building techniques, inviting people to that live. So it's going to be live. It's going to be in Facebook. They can watch it anywhere. And I will be hosting it. And Robbie, would you like to host it with me, Robbie? I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this yet, but obviously Robbie's going to be there.
If the timing is available, I would love to do
yes. And what we're going to do is we're going to invite you to be on the show where you'll have the opportunity to speak about what it is that you're doing, your project, where you can build rapport, you can practice everything, and building up to that, utilize the techniques to invite people to attend. Sound pretty good?